Hello, good morning and happy Christmas to everybody. I do apologise. Yes, this is my face. I've had some major breakouts over the sort of last 24 hours. I don't know whether it's because of the medication that I'm taking that it has flared up my medical condition, which is bile acid malabsorption. Recently, I did have a video done online of myself in full makeup. And the makeup artist that did my makeup for me was able to hide every single blemish on my skin, and she was absolutely amazing. So I would definitely recommend her to anyone to use if they are going to an event and they want to be able to hide a multitude of sins, such as major flare-outs and breakouts like I've got. Now, it is actually the 25th of December. It is what people in today's society would class as Christmas Day. I myself actually stopped celebrating Christmas after my dad passed away. It just was never the same. I always find that there are certain times of the year that if you're a child, they are extremely magical. They are the most amazing sort of memories that you seem to keep in your head. No matter how old you get, they're always there. Even if they're like really hidden, they're still there. But when my dad died, Christmas kind of stopped in our house. We would have all of these different traditions that would obviously change as we got older. So when we were little, it would always be, remembering having to go to bed early so that Santa would be there in the morning and when we were asleep. And then our presents would be there for us. And then as we got older, that changed. Pardon me. It became more family orientated. So we would always make sure that we spent time with our nearest, like my grandparents, when they were still alive. And we would take it in turns as to which grandparent we would go to, either on New Year's Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve. So the whole time would really be like one great big celebration, which would be split over a number of days to spend with our friends and family. Then as I got older again, it changed. It became more religious orientated. So we would go to church. And if anything, that helped to break up the monotony of the day. So we'd wake up in the morning, we'd have breakfast, we'd go to church, we'd come home, we'd have dinner, we'd open our presents, we'd watch the Queen's speech, So there was a huge very traditional, you knew every year what Christmas was going to be and what it was going to mean to you. Then we went through the phase of, as we got even more older, that presents changed. And I always remember 2 times at Christmas when I was completely devastated. One was when I couldn't find my Christmas stocking, which was actually made for me by a family member. We all had our own made with our names on. And I still have it somewhere. And I couldn't find it in the morning. And I remember running into my parents' room, screaming and crying and saying, Santa doesn't love me. I haven't got anything for Christmas. I've been a bad girl. And then I got told to go back in my room, and then I found my Christmas stocking. And I was always very appreciative because my parents would never spend won't be my video without a yawn. Loads and loads of money on us for Christmas. It would be, fruits, it would be nuts, it would be apples, it would be oranges, it would be colouring crayons. It would be socks, it would be pants, it would be pyjamas, it would be a new pair of school shoes. It was never really anything materialistic. And even as I've got older and older and older, that hasn't changed, to be honest, in our household, in our family. But when my dad died, it did stop. I then started working on Christmas Day. I started working Boxing Day. I started working Christmas Eve. I started working New Year's Eve. And I started working New Year's Day because I didn't have a family. I had no one to spend Christmas with. So therefore, I said, why should I deny any of my co-workers the opportunity to spend that time with their nearest and dearest when I don't have a family to spend time with? I would rather work in a care home and take care of elderly people who don't have loved ones to be here with them and serve them pureed food or Christmas turkey or jam sandwiches or whatever it is they chose to eat on that day, and give them the opportunity to have a day of enjoyment, have a day of fun. And this went on for years and years and years, where after my dad died, we did not celebrate Christmas. And then my granddad met somebody. It was only a short sort of spell. And I remember my mom doing a Christmas at her house for the first time in years. And that was the only time she ever did it. And she hasn't done it since. And then I had my own children. And again, me and their dad, we promised ourselves that Christmas would always be a family celebration. It was never going to be one of those things where we would be materialistic, that we would buy our children loads of rubbish that they didn't need. And we would not get sucked into the commercial way that celebrations such as Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, anything that is so commercially driven now is driven. I remember my first Christmas with my little boy, and he would have just been 1, and I didn't really do anything for him. But the one thing I did do was I had a train set, and what I did is I put it out all over the boat, because I lived on a narrow boat at the time, from where he slept to the main heart of the boat, the lounge where the fireplace was, the log burner, and that's all he had. He had just not even turned 1 yet. He wouldn't have been 1 until the 6th of January. So he was a few months off being 1 year old, and that is all he had, was a train set that he could play with all around the boat. We hung fairy lights from the roof of the boat. That was it. The second year his brother was born, and I, unfortunately, due to ill health, had to leave the boat, and I rented the house that I'm in now, and I brought a Christmas tree, and it has been in our garden ever since. And every year I try to buy a new Christmas tree because I wanted to have the opportunity to allow them to live and survive and grow. But for some reason, they never took, because they had been so commercially forced and potted. They lasted till after Christmas, till about January, February, and then they died, which was really, really sad. But the one that I planted in my garden has been there for 9 years. And it is still there today, and it's absolutely amazing. But it is a rental, so I will have to uproot that tree and put it somewhere else. Pardon me. If I ever move. Now, again, with my children, we had to make the decision, were we going to talk about Santa Claus? And I decided, no. So we don't do Santa in our house. I'm not saying that my children don't know who Santa is or the history behind St. Nicholas, but we have tried to teach our children the more traditional values and the historical history behind the 25th of December. And the one thing that me and their dad decided to do was go back to celebrating Yule. So our Christmas is totally 12 days. It will end on the 6th of January, which is Epiphany, which, if anyone is religious, would be aware that Epiphany allegedly was the day when the 3 wise men saw the star in the sky and travelled to see Jesus Christ in Bethlehem. My son was born on Epiphany. That is the last day that we celebrate. The first day we celebrate is the 19th, 20th of December, which is associated with the winter solstice. My dad's birthday was the 22nd of January, 22nd of December, which usually fell on the winter solstice. So around the time of the shortest day of the year and the longest night. So that is what, ever since my dad passed away, I have chose to celebrate. And this year I had the opportunity, it took me 10 years to do this, to stay at Astley Castle with my children and do something in memory of my dad, who would have been 73 on the 22nd of December. If he had still been alive, maybe I would have done it for his 70th birthday. But this year and the following year, everybody seems to have had a birthday where they've reached either their 50th or their 40th, or my son is 10. Next year, my other son, he'll be 10. So it's been one of those years where I said to myself, if I never had the opportunity to stay at Astley Castle this year, I honestly don't think I ever would have had the opportunity to in the future. So this year has been really emotional for me. I've tried to take this opportunity this year to sort of do things for my family that mean something. So all of the footage that I've put on YouTube is my dad's footage from when he was in the Merchant Navy. And I thought, what a better way to sort of share that with my family than during Yule or Christmas, if that is what they choose to celebrate. It has painstakingly taken me until, I think it was the end of last year, to get this footage from my mom. She was very reluctant to let me have it. I then had to go out and buy a machine that would read cine film to process it digitally. And the footage, sadly, is very old. So I did my best, and looking at what I've produced, as something I've never done before, I feel that to be able to produce something was better than not to produce anything at all. Now, over the next year, I may potentially go back and revisit that footage with my children and see if we can edit it in any way to make it more visible and more clear, and hopefully try to explain to people where a lot of this footage was taken. Because unfortunately, my dad never wrote down any of the places he visited. I remember him having a map in the house with little X's on, but that got lost over the years. He has a suitcase with stickers of all the places he visited. But unfortunately, none of the cine films have got any writing or information on them at all to tell you where the footage was taken. And obviously, what you've got to bear in mind is this footage is over 50 years old. The equipment that would have been used to take this, to film these places, is no way as advanced as it is today. So hopefully what I have produced will be enjoyed, and for future generations to come, not just my family, but other people, and hopefully have the opportunity to look at this footage online and say, oh, so that's what Copenhagen used to look like. Oh, that's what Amsterdam used to look like. And compare to how things used to be to how they are now. So if you do celebrate Christmas, have a fantastic day. If you celebrate another traditional festive holiday at this time of the year, enjoy whatever you have decided to do. But do not forget that the most important thing in the world today is to celebrate the coming together and being with loved ones and family, and to potentially take some time out to think about those that maybe don't have that opportunity anymore for whatever reason. It is not about being commercialized. It is not about having the most up-to-date phone or the most expensive Christmas tree that you could buy off eBay or Amazon, or spending £2,000 to £5,000 on your children on shit that they don't need. Okay? It is about coming together and appreciating life. So wherever you are in the world today, even if you can only spend an hour or 20 minutes with somebody that you love and care for, make sure you do that. Because there is nothing more important than having the opportunity to spend time with someone and to give them a hug, or just to say, I love you.